Welcome to the Rewilding Womb, a space where birth, body wisdom, and feminine power are remembered and reclaimed. I'm Sabrina, an out-of-hospital midwife devoted to physiological birth, deep listening, and protecting the sacred threshold of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
And I'm Danielle, a photographer and doula, here to witness, support, and document the raw, transformative journey of being a woman. Together, we're having honest conversations about birth, postpartum, boundaries, and what it means to return to our instincts in a modern world.
This is the Rewilding Womb, where we trust birth, honor the mother, and come home to ourselves.
Well, welcome to the Rewilding Womb. Today we have Mandy here with us, and she's going to be talking with you all about holistic nutrition. She's been a holistic nutritionist for the last 3 years, but she's been doing this kind of work since she was 15. So welcome, Mandy. It's so nice having you here, and thank you for joining us. So kind of give the audience, let them know what you do for your work and what you are passionate about. Some of the things that you see with women in postpartum or prenatally, pregnancy, postpartum, some things that you feel like need to be talked about during this time of their lives. And then, we'll dabble into other things too, but some general knowledge on pregnancy and postpartum.
Yeah. Well, my specialty is in fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and then little ones till they're about 1.5, 2. Okay. But my favorite is postpartum. I love working with postpartum moms.
Oh, yes. It's such an important time.
It is, yes.
That's often overlooked.
Oh, yeah. I feel like there's not a lot there. You go online and there's so many different things you hear and see, and a lot of it's really bad advice. Yeah. Some of it's pretty good, but it's just a hard area. When you're a new mom and you're exhausted and you're wanting to learn something and take care of yourself, it's a hard season to be researching your own. Absolutely. So I love to share.
Yeah. And it takes so much time because we're provided different things, or we see things on social media that says, oh, you should eat this, you should try this, but it's not really an individualized care. So each person is so unique. And I'm sure with vitamin deficiencies or autoimmune conditions, just the way how our bodies and systems work can be different for each mother. So what's something you do for that? If you notice, when you have a client come in to you and asking about their nutrition, do you look at the whole body effect? You do? Okay.
I do. I do like to pull in other than just nutrition. If I see a mom who needs some extra support, I even like to pull in the chiropractor side or homeopathic or from other areas, because I'm thinking you can heal more than one place at a time, and your body's a whole. So if one part's not working, the rest probably isn't functioning as well either.
Right. And so what do you see with a lot of women prenatally? What do you see they lack in their diet and nutrition and what they need?
A lot of micronutrients. And it's not something a lot talked about. I'm starting to hear more and more of it with the minerals and the stuff coming out. But it was a really hush-hush topic for a long time. I knew nothing when I had my first 8 years ago about it. I didn't really start hearing a lot about it till our third was born a couple years ago. But it is something so overlooked because everyone's so focused on protein and getting these I'll see moms do macro counting or all kinds of other things. But then I see them missing so much of oh, you really just needed some magnesium. You really just needed some of those minerals from a good salt in your water, and it would feel so much better.
Ah, good. And then, I know a lot of times with some women, they have some problems getting enough food and fuel into their bodies. Either they have a lot of nausea through their pregnancy. So how do you kind of go around that with them? Talking to them, how to get some food in and their vitamins, their minerals, and hydration too. What's something, how do you usually work with that?
I usually do completely one-on-one basis because everyone's so different in that area. And so my moms who've had like more minor nausea, we definitely look at what was maybe like missing in their diet and focusing on those minerals and focusing on other stuff. Because usually I've noticed like upping minerals or working with just even upping our protein is usually what stimulates their appetite to come back a little bit better. But like moms, myself, I've had hyperemesis 4 times now. And so coming out of like 3rd trimester pregnancy for me has always been something that like a lot of moms who are that, you almost have to up it really slow. Like it's a hard thing that you're not like, I'm just going to go pour out 40 extra grams of protein a day. Because a lot of times your body, even postpartum's like, stop. Like my digestive system's not used to that.
Right.
And so those moms in that situation, I would up very slowly, but we would really focus on like adrenal cocktails or making sure you're getting, you know, like let's eat every 2 hours instead of focusing on like breakfast, lunch, and dinner as a meal. Let's focus on a small amount at one time.
Oh, that's so interesting because my husband always tells me this. I do like to eat in that way, like every 2 hours. And he's like, he doesn't understand that because he's more of a, I don't eat until like late lunch. And all of a sudden he indulges himself with a big old meal. And I'm like, no, my body can't do that. Like it literally freaks out. So I need to have a snack every couple hours or I start to feel fatigued, like irritable. I have all these symptoms. So what are some things that you notice with moms that are malnourished when it comes to their like mental health too? I think that's a huge part of
I see a lot more like the baby blues or a lot of just like very, not so much of a depression almost, but like they just feel like they have no energy for anything. So like they'll come to me and they'll say, I have no energy to even get out of the house with my kids. Like grocery shopping sounds exhausting or cleaning the house sounds exhausting. And that's usually when we look and we're like, okay, what are we missing here? Like, I do notice a lot of times, like, moms get really busy, and so you just forget to eat. So maybe, like, setting a timer on your phone or once a week or twice a week, just meal prepping some food in your fridge, literally, whether it's, like, cut up vegetables with some hummus you made or going in and saying, hey, I need protein, so I'm going to pair, you know, like, a raw cheese with whatever else you decided to make. As far as I like to do like a carb, a protein, and either a fat in there, or if there's someone who's more prone to a low blood sugar, a fiber instead of so much of the carb. But I like to pair those. So like just giving them something so simple that's, hey, protein, carb, fat, make sure all that is in your snack and your meal together. And they'll notice just easily grabbing that or doing that. Every couple hours, they're going to start feeling a little better.
Yeah. And I feel like with meal prepping is a huge thing. We were talking about that with postpartum, you know, preparing for postpartum period is having people help you with meal prepping too, because it's just becoming having a village and a community where you get those meals in there. Cause man, it is hard and you're breastfeeding and depending on your babies too. Like I had my baby that was attached to me all the time. And so yeah, food was like, I cannot. Like I have this baby on my chest and my husband's at work. I have a toddler I'm chasing around. My nutrition was so depleted. And so that actually led to like that postpartum depression for me and anxiety. Like I was just very unstable. And so I feel like once I was able to dig in and I talked to someone chimed in and talked to me about nutrition and vitamin levels and things, and I did blood work and I was like severely anemic. I was iron deficient and I was breastfeeding nonstop. So my little girl was getting all my nutrition I was taking in and that leaving me with nothing. And so that's something I kind of wanted you to touch on too for mothers that are breastfeeding. Like what are some good vitamins, minerals that you would recommend that they would look into for that postpartum period? Yeah.
I love, I see a lot of moms who are pretty low in vitamin D sometimes, and they don't so much like to supplement straight with the vitamin D because a lot of them just aren't great quality or your body itself isn't absorbing it well, especially with your gut healing from pregnancy. But I do like when we can put in like any vitamin D rich foods and then going out, getting sunshine, like first thing in the morning, if they can go outside and just sit. We like to go sit on our porch in the morning. So that helps a ton. And I would say if they are very low, like if we run a test and I find that they're low, there is some good supplements out there that we can put them on. And then I also like to do like with the iron. I know not everyone's a fan of this, but we like to do the beef liver for the iron.
Yes.
It's one of my favorites. And I have found Perfect Supplements brand. They have a powder. Beef liver. So if you do not like the capsules or the capsules sound disgusting.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that cannot. They don't like to swallow them. So that's good to know.
I've noticed during like pregnancy myself, or even like one of my children had low iron for a while and we had to supplement some. Instead of supplementing, I wanted to do the liver. Well, you can put whatever amount you want of that powder in there as to what your body needs. And we mix it in like taco meat or spaghetti. Like you can't taste it. So you're getting this meal that's full of nutrients that's going to help with those levels, your iron level.
Yes.
But it's not something that feels like an extra supplement you're taking or, oh, I'm just taking liver. Like,
right. Yeah.
You can't
and
taste
then not
it in
telling the
there.
kiddos. I mean, like, especially with kids. Because I feel like if my girls knew what was in their iron supplements, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not taking that.
Yeah,
no,
no
Mom,
way,
no, don't give me that. So yeah, sneaking that in spaghetti and the taco meats, that's a good idea.
And it makes your meal a lot more nutrient dense. So when you're eating that, it's a good.
What do you think, Sabrina?
Listen, I tell women all the time, forget your prenatal vitamin, just take beef liver. And combined with vitamin D if your levels are low, but a mineral supplement. I love Shilajit, trace minerals in their water. Put electrolytes, salt every day in your water, and magnesium, and vitamin E for some women, depending. But listen, I've been on the beef liver trend for like 5 years now because when I started researching beef liver, I'm like, this has everything that a pregnant woman's body needs without all the extra stuff that she doesn't need. And so I switched over at that time of like, I don't care if you're taking a prenatal vitamin, just take beef liver every single day. So yeah, we're on the same page there.
And a lot of them are really low in B vitamins, like really low. And the beef liver has high B vitamins. So it's another good, like natural, your body absorbs it much better.
Do you feel like, because I feel like I really struggle for women to keep, I think the pregnant body burns through B vitamins really, really fast. What is your perspective about that?
Same. I have seen it burn through those vitamins really fast. And I see like exhaustion the mom will have, be more tired. We also see it sometimes it's just like a mental fatigue where the mom's like, I can't, again, like before, she's like, I just don't have energy to even clean the house. And I'm like, okay, we need to give you some vitamins.
Yes.
Something else that kind of takes me back to a few minutes ago is I know that mom who feels that way, like I just don't have the energy, or I just, when I think back to my days when I was a very busy mom with little kids, tell me what your perspective is with working with women now. I found that if I had coffee, it would suppress my appetite and give me a little fake energy, and I could get through the next few hours. And I feel like over years, that leads to more adrenal like fatigue. And it's just kicking the can down the road and causing more long-term problems with women's health. And like you said, we get busy and we forget that we need to eat. And so I'm always telling women, like, if your kiddos, your little ones are saying they're hungry, you need to eat too. Like, this is your sign. Like, your body needs fuel probably more so than your growing kids, especially if you're pregnant or still nursing. And so do you see that women are using things like caffeine or coffee to like suppress their appetite, and it makes their hunger go away? Because I know I was a cult. I did that.
The coffee, the caffeine drinks that are out there now, lots of those caffeine drinks. And I see them all like right away in the morning. And you really should not have a bunch of caffeine or coffee before you've had protein. So I always like to tell any of my clients, like, if we're going to want the coffee and have it, that's okay, but let's try and have it after breakfast. So I want them to get in a good protein-rich breakfast first and then have the coffee because that protein will help some of the effects of the caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise you just feel like you're stimulated and you're like, I'm good now, but I didn't have any food.
And then you have that crash that
Yes.
happens midday in the evening. And it's like, you just don't know, like you gotta take a nap and then you wake up and you're just disoriented. Yeah, I totally understand that. Being someone that is like constantly, I'm always looking at my vitamin levels and my mineral levels because I have certain conditions where it's harder for my body to metabolize vitamins and nutrients in food, which stinks. So it's like really roots to that gut health too. It's healing that gut in order to help your body absorb those vitamins and minerals. And so that leads me to ask you too, like during pregnancy, what do you see moms most deficient in? And what's something that they should watch out for, or any signs that you see that they should reach out to a holistic nutritionist to talk to them about their diet?
The most deficient I see is probably like your B6s and B12s, also vitamin D, and sometimes it surprises people, but vitamin C. Sometimes I see moms deficient in vitamin C. And so there's like, some of those are like, your vitamin C is really easy to get up natural. Like just have some oranges and fruit and the adrenal cocktail, which when you make, there's tons of recipes out there for that. But when you make that, they have like cherry powders that are made from the real cherries that you can put in there, and they're packed full of vitamin C. So like just mix that in, and now you've met your vitamin C goal for the day. And that's going to also help their immune system.
So you say cherries, do you say like tart cherry?
Tart cherry, the acerola, that one's also out there.
Okay, yeah. I've been doing some stuff with some vitamin C. That's why I kind of asked, because I've actually rid of some things in my body from doing high doses of vitamin C, which is awesome. Like I'm noticing certain things. I'm like, I don't have these kind of flares anymore, or I'm not feeling this way. And it's just from the change of the vitamin C and the intake of it. So yeah, that's interesting to hear, especially with the tart cherry. What would you feel like with mothers that are having births in the hospital? What do you, if you can say something to some OBs out there, what's something that they should be talking to their patients more about? What do you feel like that would encourage the mothers? Yeah, there's a lot I feel like that needs to be discussed when it comes to postpartum care in the hospital, field. And they just kind of send them out there. We've talked about this before. And so it's like, hey, we'll see you back in 6 weeks. They don't do very much check-ins. But if you were to talk with some doctors about nutrition when it comes to pregnancy, postpartum especially, what are some things that you wish that OBs knew?
I really wish before, so our first was a hospital birth, and we never, like, they send you home with paperwork, but it's like, paperwork that's just standard, here's your stuff, now go home with your baby. There's hardly anything for mom in there. I did not even have a clue with my first, I breastfed her, but going home, there was no like, hey, you need more calories right now and more nutrition breastfeeding than you do during your pregnancy. So there was none of that information in there. There was nothing like, hey, you're going to want to up your protein. You're going to want to, aim for good, rich, fat foods. Like, don't be eating, during this season. It's not the time for low-fat yogurt. Like, we want to see you eating Greek yogurt or a higher fat yogurt. That's a good one. There was none of that in there. And I really wish that all women would leave with a little packet, just a tiny one that would very simply explain hey, this is a great goal to aim for your protein, for every, 2 to 3 hours when you're breastfeeding. Make sure you're snacking and getting something in and putting that carb, that protein together. Yeah. I really wish that was in there, because I feel like a lot of moms would just feel a lot better. Do you feel like, with going back to sending women home, and with this day and age with social media too, they have all these wellness trends out there, and you see them all the time. There's people talking and do this, do that, do this. And there's just so much information that is being thrown at us. Take this supplement, take that, take this. And it's like, oh my goodness. First of all, it gets expensive. Yes. But does it work for that person's body? So as a holistic nutritionist, looking at the whole picture, asking that woman her history, like how she's felt before pregnancy. And like you said, that you talk about
fertility, that you work with women to try and when they're, trying to get pregnant. So that's something I want you to talk on how you prepare women for that, but also talk about like what you see as well on social media and some of the things that can work, but some other things that are like, let's take a step back on that. Yeah.
I definitely don't think there's a one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do not think every vitamin or every health food trend out there is going to work for every single person.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a different condition. We all have a different body. Everyone comes from a different history of something.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like each person's pregnancy is so different that when you go into postpartum, just telling a mom to take, hey, this prenatal because it's a top of the line prenatal. Well, that's great. But she might have ate really well this pregnancy and she continues to eat well and she doesn't need that. But then there's another mom who might actually need that because she hasn't been able to eat very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's so individualized. But I also see a lot of trending going on right now that are like these protein bars or protein balls.
Uh-huh.
And they can be great. They're not bad snacks when they're made healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But like one of them I saw the other day, I just kind of laughed to myself because it was this protein bar. Great company, great ingredients in it. It was $3.50 a bar. Okay, well, if you're going to eat that twice a day, like most moms don't have $200 extra a month for a protein bar. So I am not going to go tell my client to go, oh, yeah, there's this great bar out there. So when you're picking your kids up in the school pickup line, go for the bar. Like, you're probably not going to see me talking ever about that because that's a really pricey bar.
This is something my daughter needs to hear.
Like,
she loves those bars.
For that. If you want to, great. That's awesome. But I'm probably going to tell you, why don't you just, like prep some meat or some kind of protein source in there. It could even be like a yogurt bowl. Do some Greek yogurt in a bowl. Put a carb in with it that you like, maybe a healthier granola that can help your milk supply, and then some fresh berries. And make sure the yogurt's just a plain yogurt. Like that would get you just the same exact amount of nutrients for a lot better.
Yes, absolutely. And it goes a long ways too.
Oh, yes.
You make, like when it comes to financial reasons, because I'm sure you see this too, especially today, this day and age, like it's hard to go grocery shopping for a family of 4 and to spend, under $300 for the week. It is very difficult. And so when you add in all these things and these supplements and everything that you're trying to say, oh, that might work for me. I'm like, sometimes we can't afford it. And so like, I like to talk about that meal prepping, but also people are concerned about where their meat's coming from. And they don't want to, stuff that has high in antibiotics or, high water content. They want real good organic beef and chicken. And it's very pricey. So what's something that you would recommend, like someone that is under like a budget, something that might work for a family that needs to stay under a certain amount of money for the week for food? What's something that you say that would work for them that you can let them know?
I like this question. We're a family of 5, almost 6.
Okay.
So the grocery budget's real in our house. Like we're not going to go eating through $400 worth of berries in a week. My 2-year-old would love that, but they kept telling diapers are expensive. I'm like, oh, wait till you hit the berries. Like
the berries.
Especially getting organic ones. They're really,
they are
hard to find too.
We have, over the last couple of years, my husband and I have really gone into like looking into our grocery budget in ways that like we want to eat healthy. We want the good meat. We would like our kids to eat the good berries, but that does come with a cost. And so a lot of things I found is eating seasonal because that stuff tends to be cheaper. Also watching like what the grocery store has on sale that week and making just your grocery or like meal plan based off of the sale. And then another one is if you have a local farm that does better, there's a lot of times where they'll like have better meat deals if you go directly to them and ask them. So like we've been able to get our beef for like 20 or 40 pounds of beef at a time. And that's a lot cheaper than me going into the grocery store and trying to buy grass-fed beef. It's also better quality grass-fed beef than even the grocery stores.
Yeah.
So that's another way.
Oh.
And then one we like is if like Sam's Club or Costco's by you. A lot of times they have frozen organic berries. And my kids love like frozen blueberries over yogurt for a snack or just a bowl of frozen blueberries as a side, like with their lunch. They love them. They probably like them better than the fresh ones. Well, that's a lot more cost effective for like, it's usually like $8 for 5 pounds of organic blueberries frozen versus $4.99 for one small container they're going to eat in one setting.
Right. Yeah.
And something that I want to reiterate to moms is if the budget is a really big problem, just pick one thing each month that you're like, okay, we're going to adjust to make this one improvement in our diet for the next couple of months. And then, adjust our budget to that. And then maybe a few months down the road, implement something else as far as like switching to better quality. And so often people, they'll buy junk food and then say, I can't afford that healthy, nutritious food. But the thing that it's important to point out is like, look at how many ounces of this junk food that you think is cheaper to like the ounces of the nutritional food that is actually a lot more dense. And it looks like you're spending more money, but if you look at it like per ounce, you're really not. And the biggest thing is realizing like little changes that you make now will be huge changes down the road. It's just like little bitty changes you implement now. Maybe you make one change now, and 2 or 3 months you make one more small improvement. Over the period of years, it's really going to be very beneficial to your family. Because I know when I was a younger mom with a house full of kiddos and the budget was really, really tight. That's how I had to do it. It's just be like, okay, I can't make all the changes, because sometimes women come into this new holistic world of like information and, oh my goodness, they learn about nutrition, maybe from a podcast like this, or they've, started following a new account on their social media, or they read a book or something. And then they feel overwhelmed with, I can't do all this, so I don't want to do one thing. And I just want to encourage the moms, just make one little change, and a few months make one more little change. And like for me back in the day, that was simple things like, don't buy the shredded cheese, buy the block cheese and shred it up, because then you're getting less stuff in your cheese, because they add things to the cheese to keep it from sticking. But just little bitty things. So I don't know. I just wanted to throw that little bit in there. And if you run into that very often, like the whole financial side of it, you're giving great suggestions as far as try this instead of this.
One thing we swapped, I don't know if anyone else's kids love them, but like those yogurt drinks.
Yeah.
Every time we're in the store, they are like drawn. They're like, can we please get them? And I'm like, no, like 6 of them organic is like $8.99. Like, and so I was like, that's like 2 snacks for you guys, We literally just make them from scratch. Like, it's just the yogurt, the berries, and then if you want to add, like, I add a protein powder to ours, so they're getting a little more protein in there as well. And then I can add in anything like pumpkin seeds or any other health food stuff that I want to add in, and just nutritionally pack them. And they fill them up better. They're a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So you're just blending these at home, and then
I just blend them, and then I got on Amazon and bought like little 2-ounce size glass jars that are just washable and reusable, and we just fill them each week. And we've got their little drinks ready to go. And one thing, like our house, so we have one child who has alpha gal and has to be like strict diet. And then the rest of the kids can eat, dairy, whatever, beef, whatever they want. And so in our house, we noticed like our grocery budget, when that child got diagnosed a couple years ago, it like skyrocketed, because now it's finding, okay, now I'm buying the dairy-free option and the dairy option. I was like, we got to cut back. Like, this is a lot. And some of the like the dairy-frees you see are really expensive. So when I also have
they don't taste good.
Yeah, they don't taste good. And then sometimes I run into moms who also need that postpartum for themselves. And so there's a lot of recipes I've like started converting to try and be more like, we're going to go coconut route because it's a lot cheaper and healthier and the nutrients are better. So we've gone like that route instead of trying to like get all the fancy dairy-free yogurts or something else out there.
And then when you see like without, you said alpha gal and things like that, like when you see a woman prenatally or trying to get pregnant, are there some signs that you see now, like with different nutrition deficiencies, or because I actually have never been tested for it, but like red meats does cause me to have some GI issues and rashes, not necessarily recently, but in the past. So I'm like, this is interesting. So it's like a histamine response in my body, which I've been kind of diving deep into. But what are some things that you see for women that are before they get pregnant or in their pregnancy that are kind of red flags that they should get tested for? Some GI imbalances or anything that you can speak on?
Are great, like mast cell and histamine.
Yes.
I see a lot of in the infertility world. And it usually is like kind of almost similar to like a leaky gut issue. It's just a more common term people would know. Like a leaky gut where you would be just not processing your nutrients well. And your body is not absorbing it. Your gut's impaired. So I usually, when I see those, like we pull out some histamine foods out of their diet, which is a lot of like, you hear histamine foods and I'll say them and it's like sauerkraut and this sourdough bread or cottage cheese or like even some of your fruit and vegetables you eat can cause high histamine. People are like, well, those are good for you. Well, they are, but they're not good for that person in that situation.
Right.
And so a lot of times we'll pull that back and we'll put them on a little bit more of like even bone broth. Like it's so healing to your gut, but it's high histamine. So we're going to want to do bone stock instead of a broth for you.
Interesting. Yeah.
So this is why you can't really just say the ideal supplement and diet regimen to get pregnant is this. You really have to like sit down with a person and get a detailed history and symptoms and maybe do some testing to figure out this person's unique body. What do they need?
Like their hormones might just be really low progesterone, but for one mom that could be caused because she has like the MTHFR gene and she's got really low B vitamins and her vitamin D is low. And then another mom, it could be, okay, well, we've just actually had a lot of illness lately and she might have taken a lot of antibiotics and now we've got a really impaired gut. So now we don't have the vitamin deficiencies, but we need to work on repairing the gut.
Yes. And I feel like a lot of women too that are having births in the hospital that are group B strep positive and they are fueled with all this antibiotic in their system. And then they've got to go through the postpartum period after having all those antibiotics. And then I see a lot of those women that they end up having some postpartum depression and anxiety. And there is a lot of spiraling happening after that. And I mean, that's a pattern that I'm continuously seeing with the introduction of those antibiotics. So I feel like what care needs to look like postpartum for women, and the hospitals need to collaborate with holistic nutritionists. I know they have their own nutritionists, but it's a little different.
It's a little different. Yeah.
And
I've been in both worlds. It's a little different.
I was going to say, talk a little bit on that and how the difference between a nutritionist through the medical field compared to like what a holistic nutritionist does, and what would be the difference, and why hiring you, if you take insurance, things like that, how would that work and look like?
Usually in the hospital setting, it's very standard. So it's just like if you went into your standard doctor's office, it's like one protocol. Like, hey, you had, like if you take the group B strep mom and she had antibiotics, it would be the same protocol going home for every single mom who had that under a certain nutrition plan. Versus when someone like me would come in, we're going to want to do a root cause more on you and figure out, okay, we know you had the antibiotics, but there's also probably some other underlying stuff going on. And we want to make sure you get the best postpartum. So we're going to go look and see, okay, well, you might be low in these vitamins, or hey, you didn't just have this antibiotics now, but you also had one in your first trimester. So let's, like, we know we've got more leaky gut.
Which is probably why she's GPS positive to begin with.
So we went in, and we're going to one-on-one base that mom's needs instead of it being just a standard, here's your flyer, go home, here is your new diet. Like,
So, I mean, it's just part of the mainstream medical system is one size fits all.
Yeah.
You almost never get individualized anything there, unfortunately.
And it's hard for they see so many patients and so many people that it's hard to get out of that one-on-one for them.
Yeah.
but it is such a needed, like those moms really need the one-on-one for the best care.
100%. I feel like hospitals would do, if they can collaborate with so many outside sources when it comes to nutrition, we would, oh my goodness, some of the health and mental health of women would be changed forever.
But a lot of that is, like you said a minute ago, insurance. So if you're not part of the mainstream medical system, your insurance doesn't want to cover for that provider. And so it's where it's like it's a catch 22 or whatever, where it's like these providers outside of the system are going to give me better care, but my insurance won't cover it. And I pay for this insurance. So I have to justify that. So I have to go where the insurance is. And so it's just really hard.
It is very hard. And do you see, like with you, like, do you take FSA, HSA, or it's just like,
I don't right now. I would love to in the future, but I don't right now. But it is like with health insurance, because there's so many laws and so much stuff we have to go through for it to qualify through there. But that's my plan in the next year or so, is to get into that.
We need to talk about this more because I remember when
I would love to. It would open it up for more moms.
I believe so. Like, there needs to be a pilot program.
Yes.
And I think we should probably address that. And I think I will talk on that too. Because when they were doing pilot programs for doulas, and now we're able to bill insurance. I can do super bills as a doula and FSA, HSA.
I would love lactation consultants and nutritionists to be able to bill through that, because it would open up so much more for moms.
Yes.
Like, I had a great lactation consultant with my first baby, and she saved my breastfeeding journey, but I didn't have the nutrition support that I still needed. So that would be two things that if they could come into play would be so great for moms. I feel like it would make their postpartum successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because as much as us midwives are filling those gaps, both of those gaps, we're still only affecting 1% of the women in this state.
Right.
99% of the women in the state are still choosing hospital birth. So 99% of the women don't have access to an individualized midwife who's helping with lactation and helping with nutrition, So if we could get more programs on board to help all those women who are still in that system where they're having their babies.
And there's so many
great
pregnancy. If your nutrition's more on point, then it will help with so many complications later on, like your hypertension, gestational diabetes. If there was the education around some of it, there would be a lot less.
Okay, I'm so glad you brought that up because this is what I tell women all the time. And if we can make sure you're nutritionally sound going into pregnancy and then early through pregnancy, it's gonna reduce all of our chances of all the pregnancy complications: gestational diabetes, preeclampsia, HELP syndrome, preterm birth. It's going to help you have an efficient labor, and it's going to help you, first off, reduce your bleeding, and it's going to help your body have the reserves to actually make enough milk for your baby. And then that nutrition has to continue through
yes,
all the way through your life until your child's 18, because you're always giving of yourself even when you stop breastfeeding. But women just think, okay, I'm not pregnant anymore, so I don't have to worry about those things. And I work so hard, and I remind women all the time, I know this feels like a chore, but you have to be putting nutritious food in your mouth every 2 to 3 hours. And so do you feel the same, that if we can get women, and is that why you're focused on fertility and pregnancy and through the breastfeeding? Because it is so important for all of that to be well nourished, because then it helps with the birth and it helps with the postpartum mood stuff.
Oh, yes. I'm going to take my story, for example. But my hyperemesis.
You can break in and tell your whole story at any moment.
All of my babies have been a little bit different experience. But my first child, I had very bad hyperemesis with her. I had it my entire pregnancy from the start till I birthed her. I even had it was probably a good 4 or 5 days after I had her that the throwing up stopped. It took that long for my body to just feel okay, we're even done being pregnant. And it was a very hard, I didn't quit my job, but I had gone back to very barely any hours. And then the last month they basically was just on a like sick leave through them. But it was like, I mean, like you can't hang out with anyone. You can't go anywhere. Like it was basically me just like throwing up, going home, going to work. Like that's all that I could function and do. I couldn't even really take care of the house or myself. Like my husband had so much of that on his plate, which he didn't mind. But, you know, like he's basically doing everything while I was pregnant because I could do nothing. Like there'd be times he would blow dry my hair for me because I was so tired. I couldn't blow dry my hair. And before I had her, I had a lot of like gut issues. And I think a lot of that played into a role of just not being in the best place health-wise before I got pregnant with her. Come my second, I had done a little healing and it got a little better, but it was still like probably into like the third trimester where it really just stopped the constant vomiting of it. And then my third, I had done major like rehaul, gut healing, really healed my body, worked on my health, my hormones. I had a lot of adrenal fatigue after my first two, coming off that and just no nutrition while trying to breastfeed them too. And so when I feel like I put all that back in my body, my third pregnancy was such a different experience. Like I was still so sick my first trimester, but it literally went away at like 16 weeks. And I felt like once it went away, I could just go back to normal life. Like I didn't know what that was in my first and second pregnancies. And I didn't feel so depleted. Like having him, I didn't feel any of the depletion that I felt my first and my second time. And then going into the fourth, it's even got a little better now. This time again around. I'm curious to see postpartum this time, but it was such a different experience. And I feel like if you go into pregnancy that way, it'll help you during pregnancy and postpartum.
Yes. Yeah. And that needs to be talked about a lot because, when women aren't given this information beforehand on how to prep for pregnancy to help them throughout the pregnancy. And then once they get into that postpartum period as well, when things are shifting again, you've got a hormone shift and you've got iron depletion, you've got a whole bunch of stuff going on and a shock factor. So preparing from the start is what needs to happen. And providers, doctors, and midwives need to address this and say, hey, how's your nutrition? What's your history when it comes to your mood or just your health in general? I mean, they ask general questions like OBs, like they'll say, okay, you have a history of this. It's like, check this. But like, there's some rare stuff that's not listed on those on that paperwork. And I'm always having to like fill it out at the bottom. I'm like, that's not here. But a lot of people don't know that unless you understand your body a little bit and have to do your own research and then advocate for yourself. So it's like this step-by-step process that needs to happen, but it takes a long time for some people to get through that. I didn't know what was happening to me with both of my girls. And so, just like having that education and having your resource out there to share with these women and set them up for a great pregnancy and postpartum period. That's amazing.
Such a world of difference. Like the second, he was actually an OB that I had with my second. He was a fill-in. My OB left and moved. So I got a fill-in and he was like a blessing because he came in and he was a pharmacist before an OB. And he was a little bit more natural minded as well. But he had really gone into studying like the vitamins because he noticed so many women in his office were complaining that they were just so sick from their prenatal. And so he got into the MTHFR gene. And he was the one who had tested me for it at the end of my second pregnancy. And once I figured that out and could implement like more of a protocol for that, I felt 10 times better.
Yes.
Like, I did not know something I was taking or eating was affecting me so much because everyone would say, hey, you have to have folic acid. You have to have it.
Right.
Well, that's not true because that's the synthetic form. So if you have a gene, which they say like up to 50 to 60% of Americans can have this gene.
Yes.
That you don't process the folic acid, you need folate. So once I like made sure it was out of all of our grain products, we switched out vitamins, we switched out all the stuff. It made a world of difference in my postpartum too.
Yeah.
And just having them better, like stuff my body could actually utilize.
Yes.
So I feel like and you and I have talked a little bit about this before, about one way I'm finding that we can bring more individualized care is let's actually do gene tests. Let's see what do your genes, how do they fire and wire? What do they need to support your body? And that can go from like supplements like folic acid versus folate, which I tell all the women, just be on the safe side and take the folate,
yeah.
you know? But you know, everyone's body is so unique and different as we've been talking this whole hour. And I think doing things like gene tests to tell us what genes do you have or don't you have, and let's tailor things specifically to that instead of, we can do histories. And usually, like I just did a gene test recently, like in the last couple of months, and it's so interesting because the result was you need to eat exactly like your body is telling you this last couple of years. And as much as that's so different than the way I've eaten my whole life, I'm starting to realize like maybe I'm having a bunch of problems because I've been nourishing my body in ways that my body cannot process. And so if we could bring that type of service to everybody, I think we would help so many more people with, obviously it's more of an individualized care, which was what we're all about, you know? So, it sounds like you have noticed that as well. Like for you with MTHFR, simply that. Even that, I've had women who they've had lots of miscarriages and they just feel so bad. And no matter what they do, they can't get ahead. And then simply finding out about MTHFR, they stop losing babies and they start feeling better. And that's just one gene. What if we looked at all of them? What if we look at all of them? We could get everyone feeling more optimal. And so I'm excited about these new things, these new technological medical screenings that we might have access to help people even feel better.
I think those would be amazing. Like that gene it's starting to get talked about more, but it affects so many people in so many different ways. Like for myself, it was resulting in a lot of issues during my pregnancies and my postpartums and like lethargic and the being sick and being super deficient because it's a B vitamin, being deficient in those B vitamins that are so important. And then like my husband also has it, but his doesn't come out that way. His comes out in like almost like he can't focus. Like a squirrel brain. He's like, I can't focus, on one single task. But when he eats better and he doesn't take that, he's able to focus.
Yeah.
So it's so different. Like I see that in moms. Some moms are like, I literally feel like this postpartum, I have a squirrel brain. Or, hey, this postpartum, I'm experiencing like just mass amounts of exhaustion. So it's so different
Yeah. Absolutely. And I feel the same way too. Like even with like neurodivergence, like me and like my kids, and that can be a tough area too, because it's like out of sight, out of mind. And so like I have to have my pantry set a certain way or like my fridge when I open it up, because if I can't see the food there, then I'm exhausted just looking at what I got to do. So I'm like, oh gosh, I'd rather not eat, or I'd rather not fix this because it's exhausting for me to just look in the fridge. And so I'm like, okay.
I have one child is that way, and we literally, when we built our house, we put a mini fridge in our pantry because that child will go to the fridge all the time, pantry and the fridge. There's nothing to eat. And we're like, there's a ton of food. What are you,
Those are my kids, and that's me.
And so we put this in there, and I like meal prep food, and I put it like the yogurt drinks there and there. They always have access to fruit and veggies. Different kinds of like bean or hummus dip I'll make is in there. They always have like, one of them loves like a beef stick. We found a better beef stick. So I always have cheese and a beef stick and then like crackers sitting outside the fridge. I'm like, there's always like, here's your snack. And once they're redirected, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
But
that's so creative and smart.
Yeah.
I'm like, every parent should have one. Like the kids are no longer, I don't know where my snack is. Like, there you go.
There you go. It's right there in front of you. That's what I had to do too. Because I have two teenagers in my house, and they're girls, and if they don't eat, it's like their moods. It changes. It shifts really quickly, and so like I understand if you get some food in your system, you're just a happier girl, just like here's some snacks, here's this, here's that. And it's just like they're taking after mom. I mean, that's just the way I am. Like I said, I have to eat every couple hours.
Introduced to a new term by one of my friends who has a teenage daughter a couple months ago. And she was like, they're called the ingredient household. Like you guys don't have a snack in your pantry. You have to make it. And I was like, oh, that's an odd concept. I just thought of it as food. Like, such a strange way to think. But then I thought in like a kid's mindset, it almost is that way. Like, no, I have to put that together or cook that. Like, it's not there for me to go eat. And then I was like, I kind of feel like that as a postpartum mom. Like, I don't want to make it. I'm tired. I got a baby, you know, on my hip. It's hard to make. So like, what if we took the ingredients, but we meal prepped the ingredients, like,
and have them contribute to that, because they're learning how to cook too and how to meal prep, and that's what we want to do as well, because that's the healthy way of eating. And I feel like with society, everything's quick, rushed. Like there's so much fast food out there, and there's a reason for that. They know how to market for those people. It's very quick and easy, and it gets your kiddos off your back if you're going to drive through McDonald's, because or you have lots of sport things, you know, to go to. So it's like very quick and easy for everyone, but it's not nutritious.
Yes, I've seen a lot of like grocery stores. Like, I don't know if you guys have like an Aldi's around here. So we have one where I'm from, and they have like this whole health food section now. But the health food section, they put together as like sausage, cheese, and like a nut in a container. Well, if you flip it over and you look at the ingredients, it's full of synthetic stuff and seed oils and sugar. And I'm like, that's not something you would actually want. Like, it's quick and easy in there and looks healthy, but it's not something you would want to eat. You would want to eat plain nuts without seed oils, and you would want a clean meat with it, and, you know, like a raw cheese or a cheese that would be not have all the additives in it.
So that's where meal prepping comes together, where you go get those raw ingredients and then you can put them together for the next week or so for that quick thing you just grab before you leave the house.
Right.
Yeah. What is your favorite postpartum snack? What have you done, or what do you recommend to other women to like have quick, easy, accessible for after having baby?
Oh, I have a couple I love. I just stocked our freezer with them too in our fridge. I know they're kind of popular, but like the little lactation balls. And I like to add anything that I can remotely find that would be like nutrient dense into them. And so we make those because they're great. You can put them in the freezer. So you can put like 8 or 10 of them in a bag and then just pull them out every few days as you need them. I love to make like yogurt bowls because it's super easy to keep the yogurt in your fridge. And then you can always keep like, sometimes I'll just get the plain yogurt and put like drizzle some honey with frozen berries. And it's a good snack. The other one is like usually postpartum, you really want warming foods, not as much cooling. And so a lot of times like I'll save that for, you know, like after the first 6 or 8 weeks, because it's an easy nursing snack. But then in the first, I literally just have like chicken soup that I've prepped and made in my fridge.
Yeah.
And that's in there in a snack, or like an on the go. Like if I'm not at home and I can't eat that for a snack, I have literally made, there are like a little meatball they look like, but you can pack that full of vegetables. And they're easy just to stick in a cooler bag and grab. With some hummus and veggies or something on the side. Oh,
that sounds yummy. I like those little protein-packed vegetable bowls. It's very simple and easy for sure. And like kind of like, I want to talk to you about like, what's one thing that you would change about postpartum care for everyone to understand, and for women that are struggling with their bodies and their images with, you know, just food. And as I know, sometimes they want to, when they have baby and they want to lose the weight. And so what's something that you can talk to these women to make them feel heard and seen, but at the same time, something that you would change during their postpartum period to give them that encouragement and support to, you know, with the nutrition, and also to lose that weight that they're looking for? Because I know a lot of them do. That's their goal. They just want to feel better in their body, in their skin. And we had a discussion about this with our last podcast. And I'm here to support all women's bodies and the changes that come with being a mother and how beautiful that is. But at the same time, I know there's women that their personality wants to be fit, to look good, and that's totally fine too. So coming from a nutritionist, what is something that you can say to help support them on that journey? That's
relatable.
Yeah.
We are having our 4th and we live farm life. So I feel like I'm the one who's like, I want to get some muscle back to my body. Like I cannot do this.
Yeah.
And I do have to keep in the mindset, remember, like, I took 9 months growing this baby, and I did just go through some hyperemesis. Like, it's going to take my body time to heal, and that's okay. And I also want to remember, like, especially with breastfeeding, your body might, like, the weight's going to fluctuate different for every single person. Yeah. I don't tend to lose it. It tends to stay on when I breastfeed.
Yeah.
But that tends to happen. And then a lot of times it's just like, I know breastfeeding hunger, it's so real. And you literally just want to grab every single snack that you can grab. But like sticking to eating this nutrient-dense food and snack every couple hours will actually be a lot better for your metabolism healing than just grabbing, oh, I feel great, I'm going to eat that coffee before breakfast, or I'm going to go grab a snack that's just a lot of carby based snacks, because I see a lot of like nursing moms are like, oh, the whole bag of cookies sounds great. Well, it is great. We all like it, but maybe like 1 or 2 of them with some protein instead of,
Yeah, and it gives them the energy and fuel to last for the day. Because at the time binge eating, it does feel good in that moment because it gives you the dopamine. So you're getting that high of dopamine, but then the come down from that, it's like, oh, what did I just do? So in the moment, it's great. But then it's like, oh, and then you're fatigued and your energy is shot a few hours later because you didn't have that type of protein that you needed to kind of balance out your hormones and everything. So
I noticed like a lot of times if you're not eating that consistently or the nutrient dense foods and eating whole foods, then a lot of times we also see like adrenal fatigue starting to come into play, especially for like nursing moms. It'll come in there, and then that's a whole nother ball game we're trying to like come back down from, because usually once your body does that, it's just trying to protect itself, and so it's not going to go into like a healing or a weight loss state.
And what I see a lot when that comes into play is women are trying to work out, and they're trying, then they get insomnia, and then there's all these things that are compounding, and it doesn't help their mental health at all. But it can all come back to what I always say is just clean your slate, stop everything. You can't work out when you're not well fueled. And so adrenal fatigue is usually your body is so malnourished and depleted because of either restriction, because you don't want to let yourself eat as often as you need to, or you're just eating a bunch of junk. Like you're hitting the drive-thru way too much, or you're just fueling with coffee every morning and then hitting a drive-thru for lunch, and then, maybe some processed food for dinner. It's so nutrition comes back to like it's the foundation for everything. And so I think that it's something that's definitely women don't know about. Right. They don't know about. And then by the time we have adrenal fatigue, it's like that's a major, like your body's saying, I need a reset.
It's an alarm going off in your body.
Yeah, we can say do an adrenal cocktail, but that's one of many different things that we need to implement. We can't just do an adrenal cocktail and not change anything else.
Right.
So it's hard for a lot of women because most women haven't been told any of this information. And so I have 2 questions. What is one thing that you feel like women should stop feeling guilty about nutritionally?
I feel like you should stop feeling guilty. Like I hear a lot of moms are like, well, I need to eat perfect. Like it's not about eating perfect. It's about eating good the majority of the time and letting go the times you don't. Like our family, all of us, like there's probably 15 to 20 some of us that get together once a week or once every other week, and we go out to dinner together. I ain't skipping tacos. Like it's not gonna happen, okay? I'm not going to feel guilty about the tacos and the nacho cheese dip this week. Like I've ate good all week long. Like that is okay to have that one setting. So I wish there wasn't so much pressure to be perfect with it all, because just doing that little bit will help so much.
I always tell people, look at it as an 80-20. If 80% of the time you are doing really nourishing your body with good nutritious food, your body should be stable enough to be able to deal with the not great things the other 20% of the time. Now, if you're in a place of like severe adrenal fatigue and you're trying to rebuild, you might have to do like 90-10. And then when you get to a place of stability, then you can have a little bit more freedom. But I totally agree. Like there's not an all or nothing. You have to just find the balance and all, so that's good. And I forgot what my second question was. So
I feel like moms try so hard to like be perfect in all the areas that is not possible. So I feel like it's the same with nutrition. Like sometimes you just got to give yourself some grace. Like it's okay. And I keep it in mind, like I have 3 kids and 2 of them now are at ages where we're at birthday parties or we're at the homeschool group or these functions, and we're not going to eat perfect every time we're there, and that's okay. But we are eating perfect like 80 to 90% of our times at home. So our meals are pretty well balanced.
Yes, I love that. I love that a lot because then we're talking about adrenals too, because adrenal fatigue, but cortisol is the biggest thing. So stress, when you're stressed out about how you're eating, and that's the other thing is like hyper focusing on those things causes stress within the body. So yes, you can look at all these things, like I said, about the vitamins, the nutrition, all this information thrown at you. And then it can cause stress in our bodies, but it's working with a holistic nutritionist or someone that understands that deeper, just you personalized on a piece, like just getting that gene, the therapy, looking into what your body is doing and what you need to support it. And so each person should reach out if they can to a holistic nutritionist and get that information, run all their data on or their blood work on what their body is doing. And so that's one other thing too I want to touch on is blood work. Are you pretty familiar? Like, what's something that you would recommend mothers to get done prenatally or even before they get pregnant that you would recommend for them to screen for, and that can prepare them for, the best fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum period?
I know typically like a lot of blood work in the functional health side sometimes comes with like a cost because it's not like, again, covered by insurance a lot of times. So I like to kind of keep them minimal and do the most important ones I can, just cost wise for most people, unless we're wanting to reach out or have a more severe case. But a lot of them I like a vitamin D panel done, the B vitamins, MTHFR, and I love to do like a liver panel and a full thyroid. Also with the full hormonal if we can. And the thyroid and the liver will also tell us a lot because is your body properly detoxing excess hormones out, or are you a little bit of liver congestion I see sometimes going on, and sometimes it literally just needs a little boost, like, hey, I think we're let's literally implement this one vitamin and that will help support your liver in what it's struggling with right now. Good. But those are some that I like, just kind of a full.
Yes. And so they're just like some, And I talked about like blood work too, because insurance, when you send that through insurance, it's expensive. I've gotten bills in like my mail from I have insurance and I pay $400 for blood work. I'm like, what is this? But there's also so many different ways to go around that now these days, especially with the MTHFR. Getting that done, you can do swab tests and send them off for a pretty decent, it's not, you can save some money.
And if you can find the right person to help you, like when our child first got alpha gal, we needed these panels done, but we have like a Christian share program. We don't have normal health insurance. And so we're looking outside, like where are we going to literally run like 50 to 100 tests on our child to figure out what is wrong. Well, we went to a functional doctor's office. They were able to get them at cost. So we literally had a panel of, I think there was like probably 150 to 200 different things tested on that blood work. It was $300. Like that's unreal for most offices you walk in.
Great. Yeah, that's what we need to tell people too, to do that. And then also if there's like just singleized blood work, because I get my like iron levels checked every now and then and things, but sending them to like a health department, it is cheap. I was like $15, and if I sent it over to my insurance, it'd be like $150. I'm like, what?
Definitely like do the research on where you're getting your tests and labs done, because the labs can be so beneficial for pregnancy and postpartum or fertility, but you also don't want to like break the bank at $2,000 testing. I know like our hospital, so my husband's aunt is our lab tech. I know the MTHFR gene test there is over $800. I can literally go down the road to the clinic where we live and it's $80.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But people don't know about these things if they're trying to stay within the mainstream medical system. Yeah,
it's breaking away from it, doing the research, listening. And I think a lot of people are starting to listen to these kind of podcasts, other people talking about things like they are educating themselves and then advocating for themselves and be like, hey, I really would like this done, or showing them different like things that they have read. And if you have a good doctor, they're going to sit and listen with you. If not, you need to find another doctor.
Find another one,
And that also comes back down to just our whole purpose here. And that's encouraging women to like listen to your own body. I'm sure you've probably met all kinds of women that they're like, I've done this, this, and this. I've seen the doctor this many times. I've gone to these different specialists. And it could just come down to nutritional deficiencies. I remember 10 years ago, I was experiencing so many things in my own body. And I'm like, oh, this is all of these really bad, nasty things. I'm having all these symptoms, and my mom and my sister have all these diagnoses because they are within the mainstream medical system. And that just hasn't been my cup of tea for a long time. And so I'm like, and I'm treating all these things nutritionally and with health supplements, and they're in the mainstream side. But so many people, if they go that route, they've spent so much money and maybe been put on medicines, pharmaceuticals, when it's really just nutritional deficiencies. And so many people are getting really frustrated because they're like, I've been to this doctor and I've been to that doctor and I've been put on this medicine and that medicine. And it's just so important. Listen to your own body, do your own research, and don't settle for anything until you feel confident that that's the thing. And so a lot of ailments today can very well be nutritional deficiencies, but a mainstream doctor isn't going to tell you that. They're just going to be like, here's a pill. And so have you seen a lot of that, of people who have like feel like they're at the end of the road and they come to you and they're like, why did nobody else tell me that the solution could be this simple? Do you see some of that?
I see a lot of, it's in like the fertility with, I have clients who like can't get pregnant. And then we have it in pregnancy and postpartum. Postpartum and fertility are probably the two most common, but pregnancy, it usually just carries over. And it is like diabetic issues. And we see it so much that we have so many women with a messed up metabolism, and they're just putting them on the med. Hey, here's a med to get pregnant, or here's the med when you're pregnant for now that you have gestational diabetes, or hey, here is it after pregnancy. Like, no, that's not the issue. She actually is a pretty healthy woman, but we need to go back and look at her diet because she was really just eating fast food, coffee, and her adrenal fatigue's off. And then like one of them I had was literally as simple as she was way over exercising. So we dropped down, like, you're just going to do walks, like as simple as some walks and yoga or something. And then we are going to implement like minerals, and we're going to put in whole foods and that, and it completely changed.
Yeah.
And it's like so crazy that they can't just, it's hard for a mainstream to be like, okay, we're going to change diet and look at exercise or something in your lifestyle versus just handing them a pill. That fixes the issue, but it doesn't fix anything.
Well, they're going to say like anxiety, depression. I think they're going to throw these medications at them. What do these medications do? They
cause more mineral deficiency.
Minerals.
And so it's just like this spiraling effect. And they get worse, and worse until their body just completely gives up. And then just like they cannot function any longer. And it's just, it's
but both physically and mentally. They go down that road, and it's like affecting them physically and mentally, because our minds need a physical body that functions and works well. And so like they're kind of different, but they kind of need each other. But to be physically well, you have to be mentally well. So, it's such a double-edged sword.
A whole body experience.
Exactly. And I see it more like they'll start talking to women sometimes about like a macronutrient standpoint, like, oh, are you getting protein? Are you getting a carb? Or, hey, with the diabetes, like, let's look at your carbs. But then there's nothing outside of that to say, actually, buying the low carb bread's terrible. Like, we just need to not, and let's go for sweet potatoes or a root vegetable. Let's not go for the low carb bread that has 20 ingredients. Like, that would make a world of difference, but that's not talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Mandy, I am so excited that you came here to talk with us. This has been amazing.
It's been so good.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm sure with the women that are going to be listening to this today, hopefully they've taken away some information and some things that they want to address with their providers. But we appreciate you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. And I know next week we're going to be talking to a pelvic floor therapist. So that's great. Just like the whole experience of postpartum and starting with nutrition and going from there. So, all right. Well, I'm excited to see how things are going, and hopefully we'll see you back here with the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.